This is Northeast Georgia's only local source for TV news. From the Grady College at the University of Georgia, this is Grady Newsource.
But our top story tonight, Athens-Clarke County High School graduation rates hit a 4-year low. I'm Brianna Belser.
And I'm Gitu Vailor. The number of students who graduate from Clarke County high schools is even lower than the state's average. We join Newsource reporter Morgan Hall for the details. Morgan, just how much did these graduation rates drop?
Guys, here's the bottom line. Graduation rates for the state of Georgia continue to improve, while at the same time, Clarke County's graduation rates are going in the opposite direction. Take a look at the numbers. From 2011 to 2014, numbers went down nearly 3%. But in that same time period, graduation rates for the state of Georgia have increased nearly 5%. Now, when you compare 2014 rates to last year, the drop in the number of people who graduate is even more dramatic. In 2013, nearly 70% made it out of high school in Clarke County. But in 2014, the numbers are barely above 63%. At that same time, from year to year, the average graduation rate for the state of Georgia has grown more than 5 percentage points. We reached out to the Clarke County School Superintendent's office. We were told that Dr. Philip Leno is out of the state and is unavailable for comment. So we reached out to several Board of Education members. District 2 member Vernon Payne said, "We developed a policy and a curriculum to pass on to the superintendent." We also reached out to another Board of Education member, Carl Parks, and he had to say that he hasn't had the chance to look at the numbers, so he can't comment until the monthly meeting next Thursday. Grady Newsource will cover the meeting next Thursday and will let you know how your school officials plan to address this problem.
Tomorrow is your last chance to early vote. If you choose to do that, you will join the thousands who have already cast their ballots early. We join reporter Naomi Seifu live from our newsroom. Naomi, this may be the largest voter turnout in years.
The numbers are certainly trending that way, and we won't know the final results until Tuesday.
One of the examples of people lined up these past few days in front of the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections office. Gail Schrader, Supervisor of Elections and Voter Registration, says she is impressed with the voter turnout in Athens.
I've been surprised, I really have, that we've had such a strong turnout, and I think this is happening across the state. So it'll be interesting to see what our final turnout is on Tuesday.
More than 56,000 people are registered to vote, and already more than 6,000 have cast their vote.
I like to go early, and that's what I do. I go early. Then, but we have so many people that say, "Hey, no, I'm gonna vote that day," and they like doing that. But it's so good that everybody don't feel like that, you know.
Tomorrow, October 31st at 5 p.m. is the final deadline to early vote in person for this upcoming election. If you miss that deadline, your next and last chance in this year's general election will be Tuesday, November 4th.
Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Here are some reminders about voting for Tuesday. Make sure you bring a photo ID with you and know where your voter precinct is. You can check that online or call the Board of the Elections at 706-613-3150 and they will be glad to help with any questions. Live from the newsroom, Naomi Seifu.
A new study shows that all work and no play does make Jack a dull boy. Reporter Brianna Watts caught up with a student juggling 3 jobs and how that impacts her health.
Meet Jamara Montgomery. By day, she's a transit worker. Some days, she's a college student. By night, she works as a sales clerk. Other nights, she hosts marketing events for a local company. By anyone's standard, Jamara Montgomery is a busy person.
It's just stressful, like having something always to do with like work and then having school work to do. Like there's 2 totally different lifestyles, and then having to make sure that you can do them all together.
Lead author on a new study called All Work and No Play, Melissa Clark agrees with Montgomery's comments and reveals why overworking may bring workers stress.
So students at UGA might do things like spend more time on their schoolwork and on aspects of their job, spend more time on that than what's reasonably expected.
Workaholism describes a condition where someone's need for work becomes so excessive that it begins to interfere with their personal health and happiness. So that means employers may not be getting their money's worth for workers.
We conceptualize workaholism as an addiction. This isn't something that just starts once people go out into the workforce. This is something that they have tendencies through, throughout their life.
Clark also noted a trend among millennials and is hopeful that there will be more organizations boasting a family-friendly culture rather than a workaholic culture. Brenna Watts, Grady Newsource.
Swerving around parked vehicles sticking out in the street is dangerous, and this is a danger that Athens leaders want to change. Reporter Julianne Aberly has the story.
I am standing on East Broad Street between Jackson and Thomas Street. This is where Athens residents are having problems with vehicles sticking out into the road. In fact, I have seen this all day. As you can see behind me, the cars driving by are just inches from these parked cars. But the Athens-Clarke County Board of Commissions has received a proposal to change this. If you have driven on East Broad Street in downtown Athens, you have probably seen it or swerved to miss it. Vehicles sticking out in the street, specifically oversized vehicles. Regarding these vehicles, Pamela Thompson, the executive director of the Athens Downtown Development Authority, says,
when it parks in those spaces, it becomes a danger for the traffic that's just trying to travel down Broad Street, and there have been occasions where there have been accidents.
14 accidents related to this problem have been reported since 2011. To help with this, the city wants to paint a stripe at the end of the parking space. If your vehicle is over this line, you could get a fine for parking there.
I think what we're trying to do is just make sure that the ordinance is very clear so that people will understand what's acceptable and what's not.
The stripe might not stop people from sticking out into the street, but a $50 fine will be issued if they do anyway. We will give you an update if this passes at the next Board of Commissions meeting. From downtown Athens, I'm Julianne Aberly. Back to you at the news desk.
Have you picked your costume out yet? Well, hopefully it doesn't stir up any controversy. Find out what one group is warning the community to watch what they wear.
We've all heard about Teachers of the Year and Merit Scholars, but the Oconee County Board of Education is honoring someone with a new award that they say is long overdue. Lonnie Gibson is here to explain. Lonnie?
Yes, this man is special to everyone at Collin Ferry Elementary. The ladies in the front office couldn't talk about him without shedding a tear.
Aww.
These second graders can't wait to see Mr. Robert Harris, or Mr. Robert, as they call him.
Someone called me daddy all the times.
And Mr. Robert is proud of the impact that he leaves on students every single day.
Always waving and telling me hey, and they tell me all kinds of stories, so it has some good impact.
It's the kind of impact that most teachers would love to make on their students. But Mr. Roberts isn't a teacher. Mr. Roberts starts each school day at 4 in the morning. He drives students to and from school on the bus. Then he goes to Collin Ferry Elementary, where he works as the head custodian. He's been doing both for 33 years. Second grade teacher Bill Nelson says, it's one word to describe Mr. Roberts.
When you think of the word respect, not only do you think of Mr. Robert respecting the people and the students and the faculty here, but they respecting him in turn. So I think respect is a wonderful word that would sum up Mr. Robert.
Faculty and staff at Collin Ferry say Mr. Roberts' award was long overdue. And no one wants to imagine Collin Ferry without him.
He is the spirit of Collin Ferry. Mr. Roberts says getting kids home safely is important, but he's most proud of making an impact.
It's people like that that we need in our life to inspire our kids.
Yeah. And making people smile, that's just priceless.
It really is. I needed a Mr. Robert when I was in elementary school.
Absolutely sweet. Also related to schools, slow internet access in Georgia schools may become a problem of the past. Over 100 school districts in the state are sharing a $35 million grant to help with high-speed internet access. The Governor's Office of Student Achievement announced this week the program called Connections for Classrooms. The goal for this grant is to ensure Georgia schools and classrooms have access for digital learning. Barrow, Clark, Hall, Jackson, and Madison County are among the 103 districts to have been rewarded. The program hopes to have every school district in the state receive faster internet service by July 2015.
A third healthcare center is set to open early next year here in Athens. Athens Neighborhood Health Center is expanding to the west side of town on Old Jefferson Road. They already have 2 other locations in East Athens and downtown. Director of Marketing Jennifer Richardson says the expansion is to ensure everyone has access to a healthcare location without having to worry about transportation. Richardson adds this is the most they've grown in the 43 years they've been a part of this community.
The line between offensive and celebratory can be blurry. Directors at the Multicultural Services and Programs at the University of Georgia remind people to think before they choose their Halloween costumes. Social media has been abuzz about recent Ebola and Ray Rice costumes, and the MSP office points out that Halloween is meant to be funny and Ebola and domestic violence are not. The assistant director of MSP explains why these costumes, as well as cultural garb, could be offensive.
Costumes are meant to be funny. You get to kind of make fun of somebody's ethnicity or race that they can't take off. It's their everyday lived experience.
The history behind cultural clothing is something to be considered. Freya says, your intent may not be to offend, but you should think twice about the costume you wear tomorrow.
The Lady Dogs volleyball team is on the road to redemption and helping the community along the way. Find out how next.
And now, sports.
Joey Ripley here with your Northeast Georgia sports. In high school teams will have a tougher time than usual in getting fans to show up for their games tomorrow night because of Halloween and Georgia-Florida weekend. Reporter Justin Fetich tells us how teams are responding. Justin, who'd you talk to today?
I went to North Oconee High School and Prince Avenue Christian School. Both teams will be on the road tomorrow night for Halloween, but they aren't too worried about not having nearly as many fans as usual.
We have to go there and play, you know, on a Halloween night in a hostile environment, so hopefully our kids will be ready for it.
Playing without their fans may be even tougher for teams like North Oconee and Prince Avenue Christian, who have to play on the road. Junior guard Tyler Breedlove says some of his loyal friends won't be supporting him this weekend.
They decided that they were going to take this week off and they were just going to get off of school and just go down to Georgia, Florida, and I was just like, really, guys? But the crowd will probably be less. There'll probably be less people.
The 5-3 North Oconee Titans are trying to erase from their memories a 58-3 loss they suffered last Friday to Buford. The locks on this gate that lead to North Oconee Stadium will remain there tomorrow night as North Oconee travels an hour and a half to Stevens County. Head coach Terry Tolley said a team that normally benefits from a well-traveled fan base will be at a disadvantage tomorrow night.
Georgia, Florida probably costs us a ton, so I think it'll be tough sledding as far as a lot of people going.
North Oconee senior quarterback Tate Adcock says he won't be thinking about Halloween or Georgia, Florida tomorrow night.
We didn't play good last week, but we can definitely rebound off that and definitely get a win, be the second seed.
North Oconee and Prince Avenue Christian will each kick off their games at 7:30 tomorrow night.
Thanks, Justin. Speaking of Florida, Georgia's girls volleyball team lost in 3 games to the 8th-ranked Gators last night at Stegman Coliseum. More than 1,400 fans showed up at Georgia's Dig Pink match against the Gators. People purchased pink t-shirts for a minimum $5 donation in support of breast cancer awareness. The Bulldogs raised more than $1,500. The money will go to the Athens Regional Breast Health Center. As for the game, the Bulldogs dropped 3 straight games, 16-25, 8-25, and 24-26. Head coach Lizzie Stemke talks about playing hard despite the loss.
We don't want to regret not leaving it out on the floor, and we had to find the personality that we've been building in the last couple weeks.
Georgia now falls to 10-12 on the season, 2-8 in conference play. Florida is now 17-3 and remain undefeated in the SEC with 11 wins. With your Northeast Georgia sports, I'm Joey Ripley.
Find out just how spooky your evening will be this year on Halloween night in Athens, and find out what the weather will be like in Jacksonville, Florida for the game.
Earlier in the show, we said that the graduation rate for the state of Georgia has increased 5% from 2013 to 2014. The 5% increase in graduation rates is from 2011 to 2014.
A group of local bicyclists is on its way to the big Georgia-Florida game, and not in cars, on bicycles. The cyclists began the 300-mile trek from Athens to Jacksonville, Florida at around 9:30 this morning and will ride through the night. Heather Hyatt tells you why this group of riders is making this trip for the 14th time. Heather?
The name of the group is the Baptist Collegiate Ministry. I'm here at their facility where they left hours ago for their trip to Jacksonville. Here is their app where you can follow any bicycler at any time. Right now they are on Rhodes Mill Road, which is about 70 miles from Athens, which means they're about halfway or a third of the way to Jacksonville right now.
This year, Lindsay Lee is working behind the computer, but she knows what the trip is like. She says her ride was a little bit easier. Her year, they could stop for sleep each night.
I think just the accomplishment of being able to ride that far, I never thought I would be able to bike the whole way down there.
Bicycling is not easy. It is at times tiring, so why make the trip?
This bike ride is not just for fun. All proceeds go to Stand Up Now charity. The charity helps each student go on mission trips across the world this summer.
BCM riders raise at least $300 each. Some have raised over $1,000. Because of this ride, students will be able to go on mission trips around the world.
The Baptist Collegiate Ministry thinks it raised $6,000 to $7,000 this year from donations. They will be sending students to Peru, Romania, and the Philippines for medical mission trips. Other students will go to help with disaster relief from Hurricane Sandy. I'm Heather Hyatt reporting live from the BCM. Back to you guys.
Wow. Gitu, I am dreading this 5-hour drive to Jacksonville. And they're taking bikes.
I know, it's absolutely crazy.
At least it's for a good cause, though.
It's Halloween Eve and Georgia-Florida weekend is coming up. We have everything you need to know about the festivities. Russell Abad has some highlights for enjoying the big rivalry game. Russell, what do we need to know?
To make it easy to give you all this information, I'm going to break it down to this acronym, GAFFLE. That's short for Georgia, Florida. It's a hashtag that's making headway on Twitter. Let's talk about it, starting with the letter G. A lot of talk is about the guy with the reputation as a game changer on the field, Todd Gurley. Right now, Gurley is not allowed to play until the November 15th game against Auburn. The NCAA is still reviewing Georgia's appeal concerning Gurley's discipline and can reduce or remove the conditions, but cannot increase them. A is for absent, from school and from work, because thousands of Georgians make the trek to Jacksonville every year for this huge football game. Some students stop off first time at Frat Beach on St. Thomas Island. Last year, 8,000 students showed up and dropped off 21,000 pounds of trash. This year, Glenn County is asking beachgoers not to litter and to move festivities down to the beach closer to the Coast Guard station to avoid high tides. Lastly, L stands for law. This will be the first Georgia-Florida game since the state of Georgia passed the 911 medical amnesty law. That means students at Frat Beach will have immunities from certain arrests if they seek medical help for a drug overdose. That's what you can expect this weekend. We'll be back with all your Georgia-Florida highlights. Until then, keep up with us on Twitter at Grady Newsource, and don't forget to use the hashtag GAFFLE.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm Brianna Belser.
And I'm Gitu Vailor. Stay tuned for the post show.
Good night.
Grady Newsource is a student production of the Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Georgia, which is solely responsible for its contents. Views expressed do not represent those of the administration nor the Board of Regents at the University System of Georgia.